This is Talk of the Town, a weekly program featuring community events happening in and around Northeast Michigan, with your host, Nancy Smitham, and the latest news from Alpena Community College with Dr. Olin Joynton. And now, today's Talk of the Town.
Good morning and welcome to Talk of the Town. I'm Nancy Smitham. My first guest today is Mike Wilson from NEMSCA. Good morning, Mike, and welcome.
Morning, Nancy. It's great to be here.
It's very good to have you here in NEMSCA. We always hear about NEMSCA, Northeast Michigan Community Service Agency.
That's correct.
And I know there's lots of programs in NEMSCA, so first of all, fill us in on NEMSCA.
Well, NEMSCA is a large organization. We serve 11 counties in northern Michigan. In fact, I'd have to expand upon that a little bit. In our Head Start program, we actually do all 21 counties in northern Michigan.
Wow.
And so we have a lot of staff working in the Head Start area, and early Head Start, and providing educational programs for very young children. And that's one part of NEMSCA. The other part that is out there within our organization is under, where I work, is under client services. Under client services, we have programs for weatherization, utility assistance, commodity food supply, and more directly, what we're going to talk about today a little bit is the homeless programs that offer support to individuals and families who are either literally homeless or threatened by becoming homeless.
And we know that's a huge problem in northern Michigan. We always think that we're protected and we're safe, but we know there are a lot of homeless people in our communities, people who couch surf, people who live with relatives, people who sleep in tents this time of year. There's a lot of homelessness going on out there. In particular, it strikes our veterans.
It does strike our veterans, and we were fortunate to be a part of a Veterans Administration contract, a grant given to our sister agency in Northwest northern Michigan, and in turn we are working with them to cover all of northern Michigan with a grant that's called the Supportive Services for Veteran Families.
Okay.
And it's a great program. We're just coming to the end of our first year with that program, and putting out greater and greater awareness of the resources that we have available to veterans and veteran families. You know, if they find themselves in that situation of being homeless, you know, being in a tent, sleeping in their car, being sheltered in a homeless shelter. So we're trying to do everything we can to connect with agencies and organizations to get the word out on the resources that we have.
And I understand the problem right now is getting in touch with those veterans, getting the names, getting the people to actually come to you.
It is a challenge. It is a challenge. Many times the veterans coming through very difficult experiences, wartime experiences, are coming back home, or maybe even from previous conflicts, have found themselves, you know, isolated and maybe not totally trusting the resources that are available. So we're trying to encourage them through every opportunity we have, working with other veteran organizations that are in our communities in Northeast Michigan, to say, you know, here are some resources, you know, we might be able to really help you get established or reestablished in a home, in an apartment, and be able to, you know, it's a kind of a housing first concept where we really believe the importance of an individual having a secure, safe place to live is the start.
It's a given right. Everyone should go to sleep at night feeling safe and secure.
Right, and especially our veterans who have served us so well, and, you know, put their lives on the line in many different ways to allow our country and a majority of our world to be a safe place, a place of democracy and freedoms.
Okay. Very good. Now, so other than them contacting you, after they contact you, what's the process and how do you move forward from that point?
Well, the first process is for them to call us, and we have an intake line, and we'll put that number up here on a poster I have. That's the first step, is to go through an intake and a pre-screening. We have to verify, because of our requirements with the VA, we have
Sure.
to verify that they have an honorable discharge, that they indeed had at least one active day of service, and that they are in literally homeless or in need of assistance to avoid homelessness.
Okay. So then when they come, then you fill out the paperwork, and I know that your process is, you have wonderful people who sit right by their side, help them fill that out and take care of them, so it is a pretty painless process.
It is. We really come alongside and try to help them through that process, because sometimes the paperwork can be intimidating, and there is paperwork.
Oh,
we
yes.
have a real special person who does all of our intakes. So every phone call that we get, it's the same person that talks to them and goes through the pre-screening process. And once we determine that we have the resources that fit their need, we will match them up with a housing resource specialist. We have 4 housing resource specialists that cover the 11 counties in Northeast Michigan, and each one of those housing resource specialists will sit down and meet with them depending on where they're located, which
Okay.
county. We've divided up the 11 counties so that one of our specialists will have 2 or 3 counties to cover, another specialist will have a different set of counties. So try to speed up the process of getting connected with them, sitting down with them, and going through the information that we need to take in so that we can serve them.
Okay, hold that poster up, because we only have
Okay.
about a minute and a half left.
Okay, there's the poster, and hopefully
And that's the number
that
to
will
call.
show up. It is 866-484-7077, and that's extension 278. If they would also, if they lose track of that number, they could also find out more information by calling 211. 211 in Northeast Michigan
Okay.
is we have the information there, and those people are trained to refer many individuals that are facing different types of homelessness to our agency through our intake line. So they could just call 211.
Okay, now if someone just has a question they want to ask you about this, do you have a number that they could contact you at?
Yeah, my number is area code 989-358-4706.
Okay,
And I'd be glad to answer questions and provide information in whatever capacity we can to assist individuals.
thank you very much for being here. We appreciate it, and
Thank
we
you,
look forward to you
Nancy.
helping some wonderful veterans in our communities.
That's right.
Thank you. I'll be right back with some information about Griefshare Ministries following those messages. Hi, welcome back. My last 2 guests today are here to talk about Griefshare Ministry. I have Pastor Kermit Kitzman and Brenda Hansen. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And as I was talking to you, Pastor, we talked about Griefshare Ministries, and I wasn't aware of Griefshare Ministries, but you have a wonderful board, you have a wonderful group. It's been going strong for 3 years, so start me out and tell me about Griefshare Ministries.
Well, we started out in 2010, and we started out because I'd been using the Stevens grief kit to mail out to people, and I'd worked with divorce care, and people weren't coming, so somebody said, well, there's a lot of grieving people out there. So then I contacted our district office, the Missouri Synod office, and they had one, and so that's where we got started with 2 people, and it's been growing constantly, and it's been such a great help to so many people. We've had about 150 people go through the classes.
Wow.
Right. Yeah.
And it helps them to know that they're not going through this thing alone. They're not going through the grief alone. And what we deal with is, some of the groups just deal with the loss of a spouse or a child or a grandparent, but we have adopted the thing that we will work with divorced people.
So that's grief. That's a grief process.
Yeah, a loss of a job, a loss of a home. And we even have in our advertising that, when I heard Mike talk earlier about the veterans, we're open to them to come and share. We haven't had any, but that is a possibility. And the recent thing that we've had on our table is suicide.
Okay.
And that has been a big issue. And we're trained the people, and I've been trained in dealing with the suicide, so we're able to help in that respect.
Okay. Now, Brenda, what church is this under the auspices of?
Good Shepherd Lutheran Church.
And that's in Ossineek.
Correct.
And you're a board member.
I'm a board member and the grant writer.
Oh, yay. So why did you decide to join this group, Brenda?
Because the pastor asked me, and I thought it was a great thing to do, and we just want to help people. You know, everybody's grieving in some form of fashion in life, so I think everybody needs an opportunity or an avenue to, you know, to release some of that grief.
Okay. Now, you're the grant writer, so you've been successful.
Yes, we've had a few organizations give us some money for grants, the grants that are out there, and it's been nice, but we are also looking for other people to step up and donate to our ministry as well.
Okay. And the money used buys material and...
Right, workbooks and supplies, refreshments, you know. We have a number of books here with us today. It's not just a workbook. There are other supporting material books that go along with the workbook.
Okay.
So that's what that money is used for.
Now, you have some regularly scheduled times that you meet.
Yeah, there's 13 weeks.
Okay.
And each one is separate.
Okay.
If you miss one, you can pick it up in the next cycle.
Okay.
Right.
But they're separate cycles. Like the one week we had so many with the suicide, so we skipped and went up to where it dealt with suicide.
Okay.
And so there's that 13 weeks session, and it's continuous. I tried once to run it for 13 weeks and cut it out, and well, the people said they had to start all over again. So we've learned that one of the things, and we're in a learning process, or I was, because this was all new to me, but now we do it at 13 weeks, and I have 5 facilitators that I have trained, and that was a blessing of the Lord, because I thought I was doing it so that if anything happened to me, I died or, you know, went to see my Maker, that somebody could take over. And I got sick, and the program can continue on because this board I have is so fantastic. They're all so spiritually sound with the Lord that
it comes across when they're with the people.
Yes, it does.
They can feel the pain and share the pain and help with the healing process.
Right.
That's right.
Wonderful. Now, when and where do you meet?
Well, we have 3 places.
Okay.
Luther Community Manors from 3 to 4:30 on Monday.
Okay.
Good Shepherd Lutheran Church is Monday evening, 7 to 8:30.
Okay.
And we have one in Harrisville that meets on Wednesday from 6 to 7:30.
Okay.
And we have facilitators in all places.
So now, do people just drop in? Do they call ahead of time and register? Well, how do we get involved?
Well, my name is on the back of the trifold, and on all the advertising, my name and number. So that they call me as a rule.
Okay.
And then I direct them to one that's closest for them. I've had calls. I'd really like to get some started, like up in the Rogers City area, Lewiston area.
Right.
In that area, I've had calls from those areas for they want help, but they don't want to travel so far.
Right, that's understandable.
Yes.
So I'm open to a call from any place there that's willing. It has to be a church.
Okay.
I have to have a church to work through.
Okay.
To start with and to train the person there. I will not be going all the time. I just get them trained to.
All right. And give us a number, Pastor, for someone for information to contact you.
Contact me at 989-354-2730.
And Brenda, do you have the brochures at Luther Community Manor?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
so
we have
someone
a few.
could stop by, pick up the brochure.
Absolutely.
And they're very nice brochures. It explains everything. You've done a wonderful job with those.
Thank you.
It was. That's what Brenda does for me, because if it was up to me, it'd be
I understand. And as far as donations too, they could bring donations to Luther Community Manor and put them for Griefshare Ministries? Or?
They sure could, or they can mail them in, and that's
P.O.
back on the P.O. Box 313.
P.O. Box 313.
Right, and that's Alpena, and it's on the back of the brochure.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you very much for coming here today and sharing this information with us. And I know, as you said, there's so many forms of grief in our community, and I'm so glad that you're there to address every one of those forms of grief.
I thank you for the opportunity to get this into the community, because we have had flyers, we have had advertising, and it's on that Tuesday page in the paper.
Right.
And so I think God blessed us with this opportunity.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you very much,
Nancy.
and that's what the station is all about. That's what we like to do here. So thank you
you
both very much. Look forward to seeing you both soon.
Thank you.
Okay.
Please stay tuned for Dr. Olin Joynton following these messages.
Good morning. I am Jay Waltright, Director of Public Information and Marketing for Alpena Community College, and this is the ACC portion of Talk of the Town. With me this morning is Ira Breskin, who is Senior Lecturer at the SUNY Maritime College in New York. Welcome, Ira.
Thank you for having me here today, sir.
How are you?
I'm excellent.
We're here to talk about what brings you to Alpena. So, what's going on?
Okay, I'm here in Alpena to study marine archaeology and maritime history and maritime policy at Alpena Community College in conjunction with the NOAA Marine Sanctuary.
Great. How did you find out about this program?
By poking around your website, actually. There was a conference here a couple of weeks ago. The North American Society of Oceanic History met here about a year and a half ago. In preparation for that meeting, which I didn't attend, I looked at your website, saw that you had this course that seemed of tremendous interest to me, and basically locked it away for the last year and a half, and been looking forward to this since then. So this has been a long-planned working vacation.
Well, good for you. You are a non-traditional student. How have you enjoyed your classes thus far? What have you learned?
Well, first of all, they're quite excellent. We're using some of the NOAA staff, as well as a guest lecturer from the East Coast, Dr. John Jensen, who's an expert in Great Lakes maritime history. I've learned about the shipwrecks out in the preserve. I've learned about Great Lakes shipping from a historic perspective. And now I'm learning about some of the environmental issues facing the Great Lakes.
And you were also learning some about the archaeology.
Correct.
Underwater archaeology, is that nautical?
Well, it's nautical archaeology,
Okay.
correct. Nautical, not marine. Nautical meaning non-salt water.
Okay.
As you know, there are hundreds of wrecks out there in the preserve and beyond. Cold water keeps them preserved. And it's a wonderful laboratory to study the construction, design, and operation of those ships. And that's something I can bring back to my classroom.
Well, great. Why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about what you teach and how what you're learning now is applicable to that?
Yes, I teach at the State Maritime Academy. Most of my students are going to be trained to be licensed officers on U.S. flag ships. I'm a utility infielder at the school, so I teach a number of subjects. I teach English, I teach writing, I teach applied maritime economics, and I teach maritime history. So what I'm hoping to do is bring some of this back, give them some appreciation of American history and shipping on the Great Lakes. And in fact, I'll have some practical application because some of my students, a very small percentage, will actually work on some of the Great Lakes boats.
Earlier we were talking and you were telling me about the differences between what the maritime students learn as opposed to the students on the Great Lakes. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, most of my students want to be blue water sailors. They're interested in the oceans, but there's tremendous connection and affinity between the Great Lakes and the ocean, especially from a historical perspective. However, there are a lot of operational differences and operating differences. So again, it's like and dislike at the same time.
And have you had a chance to get out on the water in the Marine Sanctuary?
We have. We took the glass bottom boat. I guess it's the Pride of Michigan. And we went on it was a week ago, Friday. We had an unbelievably clear, cool day. We got to see 3 or 4 wrecks, and plus we saw a tug barge going into the Lafarge plant. So we got to see the modern as well as the historic.
Now, did you see the freighter coming into Lafarge?
Yes, yeah, but it's not a freighter. It's a tugboat. It's driven by a tugboat, and you know, I don't know, 600-700 feet. And some of my students have actually done that run. They've actually driven the tugboat that propels that vessel into the plant.
That reminds me of a mistake I just made in speaking with you a few minutes earlier when I talked about boats.
Right.
And you reminded me that they're not boats.
Well, on the Great Lakes, everything's a boat. However, on the ocean, a boat goes on a ship. So boats are small, ships are big. But on the Great Lakes, everything's a boat. That's one of those differences we talked about.
Fascinating. I did not know that.
No reason you should, sir.
Well, this is a growing maritime town that we're much more aware of those things, so it's very nice to be educated about.
Well, growing, but again, the history of Alpena and maritime is probably, its heyday was in the late 19th century, so with the lumber trade. But again, consistent history with the cement plant and all.
That's right. You mentioned the lumber trade and the wrecks out in the bay. Can you describe what you've seen out there? And I know that you have an interest in economics as well.
Right.
Tie those things together. Sure.
What we saw was some schooners. These were ships. These were the canal schooners, the predominant ship in the Great Lakes in the mid to late 19th century. Some of them got caught up in storms. Some of them were scuttled here in Thunder Bay. So, but the nice thing about a wreck is we see the after effects, and we can sort of deconstruct it. It's almost like a post-mortem. We can see how it was constructed and how it was used, and unfortunately how it might have met its demise.
And how would you apply these things to your teaching right now?
Well, again, one of the things my school is starting is a master's degree in maritime studies and maritime history. So again, we can look at the use of the ships and how they were built, how they were used, how were they deployed, and the economics of same. And again, I tell my students that money drives, you know, a lot of shipping, and it clearly drives the design and operation of the ships, and we can see that from the bones of those ships.
Sure. Well, we just have a few seconds left, but what else would you like to talk about with the classes that you're doing? Have you found anything that just really stands out as something very interesting?
Well, I've sort of gone full circle, because what I've looked at is some of the issues that develop on the Great Lakes, in fact, influence blue water shipping, and some of my research is on something called the Blackball Line, and we've talked a little bit about that as well.
Well, that's just about all our time. Ira, thank you for joining me.
Well, thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. And thank you for joining me. Once again, my name is Jay Walterite. I am Director of Public Information and Marketing for Alpena Community College, and this is Talk of the Town.
This has been Talk of the Town with Nancy Smitham and Dr. Olin Joynton. For a list of events taking place in Northeast Michigan, visit our website at wbkb11.com and click on Community. This has been a Thunder Bay Broadcasting Corporation production.